something that's been with the store since the store opened, really. Like, we've patterned ourselves after the Amoeba locations in California, and they've always had live in stores there, and I think it's an exciting thing. We've got a bigger space. I figure why not use it? It's conducive to live music and stuff, and I think it's something fun for people who shop here. Like, it's all ages. They're generally during the day, so people who have kids who can't necessarily get out after midnight to see a show, or for kids who aren't of age, obviously, they can get in here and see some awesome band that they like for free during the day, and it also helps to sell records, obviously, and just helps people to be aware that we're here. And we've changed locations about a year ago, so it's a nice way to kind of remind people that we're still here and get used to coming in, and hopefully have a pleasant experience and come back. So. Yeah, it's tough to say. I think it's a bit of both in terms of does live music help sales, or does sales help live music? I don't know, it's interesting. You can always tell when somebody's obviously come to town, like Tame Impala or Mac DeMarco, like there's a run on those albums and they're instantly gone. So, but usually when we have in stores, for the most part, you know, whether artists are bringing in their own material or whether we're selling stuff off the rack, the impact of somebody playing here certainly helps. And like I mentioned Mac DeMarco a second ago, kind of funny story. When he was here during CMW, we actually went out into the alleyway and was just giving away copies of his album to the first people who showed up. So some people definitely walked away pleased there. And I mean, those aren't necessarily sales, but he's definitely moving units. I mean, Napster happened in 1999. We're like, I don't know how many years now, 15 years removed from the digital age sort of starting to take over. So I think, at least in the microcosm that is Toronto, it isn't something, I mean, I think there was an initial boom that affected physical sales, but for us, I mean, I was just mentioning a minute ago, like we've revamped our store essentially to make room for more vinyl. So while CD sales are probably the same or maybe on a decline, vinyl is picking up that end of the sales, and I don't know that, at least for our store anyway, that digital is having that big of an impact. I mean, I would imagine if tomorrow digital was somehow unavailable, not illegal, but just totally unavailable, I mean, I don't know that many more people would be buying the records anyway. I think somebody who gets it online for free probably wasn't going to buy it, and if they check it out online for free and they like it, there's a chance that they might buy it. I think it really separates the wheat from the chaff when you talk about, back in the day, people would buy a record because they liked one song and they'd listen to it and it was complete shit, the rest of it. So I think the playing field's being leveled a bit more with the selection, and you have to put out a record that's really, really great. And I think the ones that sell really well, I think it's even, like we still sell a lot of Nickelback and stuff, but the bands that are truly great, like Grimes here, for example, amazing album, and people buy it because it's good. You know what I mean? So, yeah. But as far as digital, what I think about digital coming in, I think it's great. I think it's a great option. I think I'm not one of those people who's like vinyl purist that it's got to be vinyl or nothing. I think whatever you want to listen to it on is totally fine by us. So we don't sell MP3s or sell anything digitally. I know Amoeba's been doing that, where they've been selling old MP3s that they've made of old 45s that they have and stuff online, and I'm sure it's like $1 billion investment or whatever. I don't know how much they're making back for it, but we're doing great, thankfully. You know, fingers crossed, knock on wood, for the next couple of years we'll be doing well, I would hope. There is a romanticism, I think, about vinyl that doesn't exist with CD. Especially for people who were buying records before the advent of digital and CDs and whatnot. And I think some of that's rubbed off on a new generation of people. I mean, there's kids coming in and they're asking for the new Drake album on vinyl. It's like, do you have the new Drake on vinyl? And if we don't have it on vinyl, it's not worth owning, basically. Because they're big and they're cool looking, and so there's a visual, I think, aesthetic. And I think there's a fun sort of collectability maybe with buying bigger wax records. I mean, they're certainly referenced more in pop culture now more than ever, at least in the past 20 years. So I don't know that it's any one thing. I'd like to think it's like a whole bunch of different things, but I don't know. There is certainly a romanticism with vinyl that there isn't with CD. There's a lot of stuff available on CD, but I forget what the percentage is. There's some ridiculous amount of music not available digitally at all on CD or MP3. That's just out there. I mean, because before the early 80s, I mean, how many records were made? They're just billions. So the selection is so deep. You could essentially try to have the biggest vinyl collection for the rest of your life. Somebody could have all the money in the world and never own everything. So I think that's kind of interesting. It's like chasing the dragon, but you'll never get it. You know what I mean? So I think there's an allure there to the collecting. There's so much stuff to get, so many options. So I think that's kind of maybe part of it. We appreciate when they do. Obviously, we can stay in business. Independence, like a store, is only as good as what it's doing business-wise. Like nobody has an obligation to shop anywhere. Shop where you want to. You know, I used to work at HMV for a couple years, and I would still come to a place like this. So it would be just selection. There's just more stuff here. We sell new and used, unlike a lot of chain stores. I know some of them are getting into that though, which is a good idea. So we've got a selection, and the prices are generally lower, depending on what it is, obviously. Now the thing with us too is if we have a big album that just came out, we'll only buy a few of them, and a chain store might buy a whole ton of them. They'll have that one album for cheaper that 1 week. But I think on the whole with us, especially with used stuff, it tends to be a little bit cheaper. I'd like to think that the staff here aren't as cookie cutter as maybe a chain place would be. Not to knock chain stores, they're all fine or whatever for what they are, but I think you talk to somebody there who might have just worked at McDonald's previous to that, and they don't have necessarily a whole lot of knowledge or love for the product or music or whatever. So I would like to think that the people who work here for the most part have a pretty deep knowledge of what they're selling and all that, and it's and also we have Google here, so we can Google whatever if you have a question. Yeah, why should they support independent stores? We're local. Everybody who works here is from here. We live here. I think it's important to support local businesses on the whole. You know what I mean? Like a Dollarama now stands where our old store used to. So and hey man, I've bought stuff at Dollarama too before, but I mean like that's kind of a sign of a dangerous economy when Dollaramas are on every corner. So I think it's good as much as you can to support local. But again, the marketplace is fair ground. It's fair. It's fair game rather. It's even ground. You can shop wherever you want. So. And I'm glad people choose to come here because I think it's a great store, and not just because I work here. The atmosphere is important, I think. The music we're listening to right now, I picked, or whoever's working picked. It's not a preset playlist. We're not playing stuff to sell it to you. We're playing stuff because we like it. And there's a good example. Like our end caps and what records go where is not predetermined by somebody in the UK or at some head office. Like we're deciding what goes where. So there's a little more control at the local level. I think that we've hopefully got our ear to the ground, and I would say that's the same probably for other stores in the area too. The amount of independent record stores in the city, like we're so lucky to live in Toronto. Like there's so many great stores here. So it's weird. Like we opened across the street about 11 years ago, yeah, we had 2 floors there, and here it's basically pretty much the same square footage, but it's on 1 floor now, sort of side by side. Everything's just jammed into one massive room. We didn't want to move, but it's weird because, you know, it's funny how they say, you know, one door closes and another door opens. We got this spot. We were going to buy this spot as a storage space, believe it or not. And then when we found out about the store being sold, we had to find another place ASAP, and it happens to be like 30 seconds around the corner. So we kind of get to stay in the neighborhood and keep the clientele, and we're sort of right at the same intersection, so that's good. And how it's changed, it's weird. We totally expected for sales to drop when we kind of came off of Bloor Street and moved into Honest Ed's. Most people who, I mean, at least a good percentage of the people who come in here every day think they're in Honest Ed's at first. I wonder how many people go into Honest Ed's and they're looking for Sonic Boom. I gotta ask somebody sometime. So yeah, it's in a weird spot, but believe it or not, we're doing better here than we've ever done across the street. Like last year, we did our best year of sales ever after moving and basically disappearing from our spot on Bloor Street. So What's different about it, again, the layout's different. It's sort of more massive when you walk in because it's all one big floor. The colors are the same, the racks are the same. I mean, Jeff did an interview, the boss did an interview at the time, and he said when you walk into this part of Honest Ed's, it's absolutely Sonic Boom. You'll feel like you're in Sonic Boom. So I feel like, it sounds kind of cheesy, but Sonic Boom isn't necessarily just this place. It's these people and these racks and this product, and it's the vibe and atmosphere of it. So I think you could pick this store up and kind of put it anywhere, and it has that vibe. Case in point would be our Kensington location at 201 Augusta, which we also purchased as a place to just store things. It happened to have a storefront, and so we thought, why don't we open the door and sell some records? And so it's been doing really well down there as a vinyl-only boutique store. So. Easy. Walk in, bring it in, bring in a few copies, you fill out a consignment form, and it's on the floor. That's it. I mean, it's our Christmas. I mean, we do well at Christmas time, I think, like any store would, but with the added spotlight of the Record Store Day banner and with the exclusive releases that only come out once a year, I mean, the things that are released on Record Store Day are instantly gone. They're only ordered once. I mean, I remember last year looking online, I think on Record Store Day, and we had an Arctic Monkeys single for $7.99, and I'm on eBay that morning, and it's like $500 online. So it's like, it does suck a little bit that those things are purchased, I think a lot of the times, for people to immediately turn around and sell, and I'm probably giving somebody that idea right now, so. But it was going to happen anyway. So that's a bit of a bummer. I would prefer that people who want a record get it. But I mean, that's what it means for us, honestly, is it's a special day where we get titles we wouldn't normally have. Business obviously goes through the roof because of that fact. It's certainly our busiest day of the year. I mean, Christmas is generally drawn out about a month before Christmas, and sometimes within the week after because of New Year's and all that Boxing Day. But Record Store Day is all just slammed into one day. And it's certainly our busiest day in terms of foot traffic, business. And I think it's important, I think Record Store Day is important because it's nice to sort of have a focal, I mean, it's certainly, the origin of it is the idea to sell more records, which is cool. But I mean, I think it just gives independent record stores a sort of day of the year to sort of celebrate and do something special. And I know all of the different stores that I mentioned, they all, I'm sure, do like individual special things on Record Store Day. So I'm curious to see what everybody does. We have live performances. And we'll have giveaways and that kind of stuff. Just fun stuff throughout the day for people who kind of hang with us and who are shopping around. We encourage people to like shop around, go to the other stores, come back here. Last year we had free food and stuff, so it's just a big day to show the community that we are appreciative of them, and then if you want to buy something, that's cool too. We've got a lineup of live music. I'm going to see if I can think off the top of my head who's playing. There's a local young lady named Tess Parks, who's brand new. She's playing. There's an artist called Language Arts. I believe she's from Ottawa. She's performing. Lullaby Orchestra, who are a Vice Records duo. One of the members, Justin, actually works here, and they're like sort of like a thrash metal kind of punk band. They're playing. There's a new group from Toronto called Beliefs, which recently just got a great review in NME. I think they're signed to Hand Drawn Dracula. They're doing really well. William Tyler, who's on Merge Records, who I think used to have something to do with the band Lamb Chop. He's coming in. He's a guitar player. Great. Who else? I know I'm going to forget somebody here. Brent Jackson, who's in the Junctions, doing a solo set. Who else am I forgetting? I knew I was going to forget somebody. There's a great punk band from Toronto signed to Dynalink called Single Mothers. They're going to be here. And then Telephone Explosion Records, very own Young Mother, another great Toronto band. They're playing as well. I think that's it. I'm probably missing somebody, and I'm going to kick myself later. Yeah, so that's who's playing. And every year it's always a different group of artists playing, and it's always a different crowd that shows up and whatnot. So it's just something that goes on every hour on the hour for about 25 minutes, and then something to watch while you're standing in line for an hour or whatever. And just kind of adds to the atmosphere and uniqueness of the day. It's not every day that we do a day full of artists playing, and it's a bit of a pounding on the ears, but I think it's worth it. I think it's, again, something special. You don't normally see this kind of thing in a store, so it just adds a bit of excitement to the day. Man, oh man. so much stuff this year. There's a Pink Floyd single, which is a See Emily Play reproduction of an original 7-inch that came back. This is the Syd Barrett era Pink Floyd, which I don't know how available it's been, but I know that that's one of the big ones. They're re-releasing that for Record Store Day. A lot of re-releases this year. I think they're noticing that they do really well. But also just bands who, like Mumford and Sons, even, it's funny, like a band that's that big, you know, has got a 7-inch coming out on Record Store Day. It's crazy. Like, I'm just waiting for the day when like Rihanna's got a Record Store Day 7-inch or something. It's so funny how everybody's sort of coming around to this idea. But yeah, there's a Bob Dylan 7-inch I know. There's a David Bowie single. A lot of the artists who've put out records within the past year are doing like special singles and a lot of reproductions. I know that Eric Burden and the Animals, they're doing the whole thing with them. The Deftones are re-releasing their entire discography on vinyl. I don't know if that's all on Record Store Day, but they're at least starting it this year, re-releasing their whole catalog. So a lot of that. April 20th, Saturday, April 20th, 782 Bathurst, Sonic Boom Records. Come on down, Record Store Day. It's going to be a blast. I'll be here, so that's reason enough to come hang out. Lots of exclusive releases, free food, live music. Bring your kids, hang out all day, go and come back, whatever. Yeah, it's going to be a great time, so I hope everybody can make it. Okay? See you.